Yeah. Wait, should we record this? Because I saw this on my feed and I was going to leave a comment and I saw your comment on it. And then I
Yeah.
didn't even end up leaving my comment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay.
When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing towards those big vision board business goals.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast. You always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeline Digan. And this is
hashtag
managed. I think it's perfect.
I like it. I like it. As you head into the next chapter, what are you most excited or maybe nervous about when it comes to entering the workforce?
I think this is an exciting and nerve-wracking thing. We'll be living and working somewhere new. I'm gonna move back with my family for the summer. And then after that, I don't know. But I intend to leave where I grew up. I grew up in Silicon Valley, which, is fantastic job opportunity if you know how to develop software. Which, I took some like computer science electives and I thought those were cool. But that's not what I have a degree in right now. And obviously there's other things to do there, but that's the majority of where like the job market is hot where I live. And so looking beyond that and moving out and then moving into ideally a city. I'd love to live in a city. I loved London. I don't know if I'm ready to move there.
Same.
But
If you move there, we will visit. I've told
perfect.
Jessica knows that London has been on my mood board, and I have like told her, I'm like, I don't know how, like, but we need to get some London clients. Like, a part of me stayed in London when I studied abroad as well. Hence why Maggie is my like soul sister.
Yeah.
Yes. There's some things I would miss. It's really hard to get your hands on goldfish crackers in London, in the UK. So I'm like, okay, not yet. But there's other cities. I talk about Nashville. I love Chicago. There's a ton of stuff going on in New York. I'm a little scared of LA, but there's a ton of cool stuff going on there too. So there's just so many opportunities right now that's kind of intimidating, but also really exciting because I'm like, okay, I'll get to try something new and see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. That's so fun. I feel like no matter where you end up, I know it's going to be, and again, whether it's like temporary or as someone who has lived multiple places post grad, and I think recent conversations, people are like, is Charleston like end game for you? It's like, well, now that I am entering into a different chapter of life, including like working and motherhood, I'm like, maybe, but also I don't know. Like, just because I'm having a baby, I think this baby's along for the ride with my husband. Like, we're just gonna keep going. So, I mean, hey, London's always calling. So one of us needs to pick up.
Yeah. And I will say, for our next question, and it's like I think one of our last, but that just warms my heart too, because I think, speaking for both Jessica and I, as people who we moved away from home, that is always one of my biggest pieces of advice is like spread your wings and fly, because yes, it's scary and yes, it's gonna be tough, but you're gonna learn like so much about yourself. Like even before I left, like hence why I left Indiana to go to Chicago for school, where I really got to know myself, but also still like a teenager in like your early 20s. But it's just so liberating. I don't know. I just applaud you, and to the young listeners out there who have been thinking about moving away, like that is, I would say, do it. Go for it. And yes, it's scary, but you might have stuff to lose, but you have so much to gain too. So,
yeah.
Okay. If you could give other college students exploring creative careers one piece of advice, what would it be?
I had to really think about this one. But I think based on like the organizations I've been a part of and the projects I've gotten to do and the people I've gotten to work with, I think like don't let other people intimidate you if you feel like there's a classmate who's maybe who you think like, oh, they're totally better at me at whatever it is that we're doing together. Like I play music in an ensemble, and sometimes when like the imposter syndrome hits, and I'm like, all these people sound so much better than I do, and then I'm like, wait, but I'm in the same class as them. So what can I learn from them? Choosing to like surround yourself with people who you think are doing really cool things in kind of an intimidating way. Make friends with those people and like collaborate on projects with them. Because it's possible and likely like there are things that they are better at than you, but there are things that you're probably better at than them. And so by bringing that together, you know, you'll be able to do interesting things together. But also like you'll learn a lot from those kinds of people as well. The friend of mine who I wrote the podcast with was kind of intimidating to me when I first met her because she was such a go-getter and like so on top of her homework, and then could like do her creative projects all afternoon. And I was like, wait, I want to be like that. And so, you know, I spent a bunch of time with her, and then we, you know, we were peers and collaborators, and we're going to be friends for a very long time. And then similar in college too, with the people who I'm like, ooh, you're really talented. And I'm like, oh, well, you practice and I practice. And so what can we do together? How can we make that happen?
I feel like you're talking to two people. Jessica intimidated me so much, and I think this speaks to everything you just said, and I think that's beautiful. You are wise beyond your years, Maggie. So wise.
Yeah. And I think it's so funny. I know it's always, you know, perspective is always 2020, right? Because it's like Maggie, you're talking about your experience with that, you know, with that you know, co-collaborator and now friend. And I'm like, everything you're saying, I'm like, wait, Maggie, that's you. That's my perspective of you. But you know, we are our own biggest critic all the time. I completely understand where that's coming from, but yeah, I think there's, you know, there's so many people in the world, like we said earlier in the episode, just surrounding yourself with people who are doing what you want to do, who can help you get to where you want to be. Like most people are so good internally that they will tell you how they got there. You know, I mean, it's one of the reasons why we have this podcast and just have like hashtag manage in general. Like, one, I think it goes without saying, like, our social media agency is how we make money. Like, if we're being really frank, that's how we make money and how our team, you know, gets paid and pays our bills. But at the end of the day, like, we further grow and grow in our community. We just hit 22,000 members a couple weeks prior to this episode airing in our Facebook group. And I think in today's world where everyone is seen as competition and it's so hard, like, it's just so nice because this is actually a community that leans on each other. And if you don't believe me, it's free to join. Just go in and join. We'll get you admitted like as soon as you submit the questions, and you'll see there are so many posts and just conversations between people. But I think that's so funny. Also, I'm dying laughing that you said that. I intimidated you, Maddie, because I'm like, well, what the heck? But I know that there's people in my, you know, we follow those people on social media. We have those people like in our back pocket that we're like, man, I want to be like them. I want to be at that level. I want to be at that level. And I try to remind myself, especially now that I'm, you guys know, I'm like, go, go, go. But I'm also having to get into like a slower season of life, like naturally, just because it's how like my body is moving now. But it's really hard to do that. And I'm like looking at these people and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so up here. They're doing so much. But it's like, I really don't know. Like, I don't know what they're going through. And I don't know who are they looking up to. Because it's always, you know, steps and steps down the road. Funny, sometimes they might be looking back at you. They're like, hey, I want to be like her. I want to be like Maggie. I want to be like Maddie or Jess. So I think that's so funny. But a great advice, Maggie, that I think anyone can take, college student or even just non-college student. Okay, I'm excited for this. I don't know. Maggie, is this one of your ideas? I don't know. I'm giving it to Maggie as if it is. Collectively on a planning call with Maggie's help, we came up with this idea of flipping the script on these interviews, and it's been so fun. We've done a couple so far as well. So, Maggie, we've been asking all the questions. Now it's your chance. What is one question that you want to ask us?
Yeah. I have a question about marketing and like digital promotion and stuff like that, what is a new trend that you see emerging in the digital marketing space, that you think like people entering this world, kind of in any industry, should be aware of and should be on top of?
That's a good question.
Okay, can I say the first thing that comes to mind, and I hope it's like polished and perfect? This is where this part makes me like excited but so nervous because I'm like, oh my god, how to answer these
Same.
questions so good. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is actually a word we already talked about on this episode, and I think Maggie, you mentioned it, but storytelling. Again, it's not a brand new concept. I think most people are like, oh my god, she didn't say AI. No, I'm not going to say AI. If you guys listen to this podcast, you know I'm not going to mention that first. But I think storytelling, it's one of those things that if anyone, whether they view themselves as a marketer or they're a business owner or just non-marketer, they're creative, a musician, whoever, leaning into their story is the best thing that they could do. And again, I think that's one thing that I love to recommend to people who say, I'm not a good marketer. I can't market myself, my business, my product, whatever. You know, they say, oh, I'm not a good writer. I can't write captions. I can't write my website copy. I can't write emails. It's like, or, you know, I think on the flip side too, they're like, I can't sell this. I'm not a salesperson. I can't sell a service. I can't sell blah, blah, blah. Okay, but you're a human, and humans tell stories. Like, it's our innate feature and function to tell stories. Everyone can tell a story. How they tell it, now that's where people get more skilled and more crafted and go to school for it and get training. But everyone has a story within them, and I think as long as you're pulling that out, that is always going to put you on top of what your competitors are doing, what other people are doing. Yeah, just tapping into your story, whatever it is, no matter if you're selling yourself, your music, your products, your services, selling whatever. You could literally be selling ice to an Eskimo. Tell a great story, they'll buy it. So that's what I would say for that. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, thank you.
I would say, so everything Jessica said, obviously, because we have like one brain. But I would also say, again, is it new? No, but it's the creator economy. Like, I still think that is going to keep evolving and changing. And I think it's going to be interesting because I think we're also, and I want to hear your perspective of this too, Maggie, because you are Gen Z. But I think that our digital our digital media consumptions, like, people are getting burnt out, like social media managers. Like, I know it's funny that I'm even bringing this up, but it's these are trends that we have to be well aware of. And when clients come to us, it's like, my engagement's so low, it's the algorithm. And I'm like, is it the algorithm? Like, yes, maybe it's the algorithm, but also, like, let's take a look around in like the digital landscape and how there's a lot going on right now where people too just like don't want to. Yes, we want to mind them, but also like be happy. Like, I use that so like where it's like, because it can be depressing. So I don't know, Maggie, like, how would you say like you see your friends and you like just how much you consume, like, since I don't know, because you grew up with tech. You grew up with it always, and I feel like Jessica and I did too. However, like, we weren't babies. We were like elementary school.
Yeah, I think, and this might be just because like I mostly hang out with college seniors at the moment, and we're all just tired of everything right now. But I do see like my peers getting tired of certain things, and like maybe this is bad to admit while I'm working for social media managers, but like I deleted TikTok 2 years ago, and it was the best choice that I have ever made. And like I went on an Instagram and Tumblr hiatus during Lent. Like that was what I gave up. I was like, I'm not going on my usual socials, and realizing like I actually don't miss Instagram Reels at all. Like that added nothing to my life. Not nothing, I do like I discover music on there, and like, it's how my friends connect with each other. So we send funny things back and forth. But for the most part, it's like people do want a break from all of it, which brings up interesting questions about like, so how can you keep engaging with people?
And
Because it
that,
is useful for
yes.
like, making connections of like discovering artists and even discovering like local businesses and stuff like that. But yeah, there's some
But
kind of balance to be struck, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
yes, but okay, to answer your question though, I feel like that's going to be the answer I go with though. It's just how like the trend. So like and I think this is a conversation that as social media managers we do need to talk about, and not like where I hear multiple people deleting the apps, and I'm like, I've even heard some social media managers, they'll delete the apps like on the weekends, but to me, I'm like, that's too much admin. That's
Yeah.
just too much work. I'm just gonna put my phone like away and store it away. But I think it's important to understand that that's happening, and yes, we are going to have to, how do we engage these audiences if they aren't spending as much time, and like that goes into the bigger scope obviously of digital marketing, like where it's like website, email, so on and so forth. We're not going to get into that, but I hope I answered that question, and I hope that was a good answer.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, now is our favorite part, you already know, which is our weekly report. So what are
Yes.
you currently reading?
So I haven't had time to like read for enjoyment since spring break, but I got halfway through a book during spring break that I'm excited to finish soon. And it's called Task List by this author Scott Hilbert, who went to my school, and I got to meet him and he signed my copy, which was cool. And it's like a speculative fiction sci-fi sort of thing set in modern day-ish, maybe a little bit futuristic San Francisco, about this app called Task List. And it's like a kind of like a gig economy Craigslist sort of thing where it's like there will just be anonymous tasks posted, and if you feel like you're up for one, you can do it and then you'll get the money, no problem. Um, then like, how might that get darker and darker, and like what's the seedy underbelly of that, and like what's the legislation that has to happen. Um,
Yeah.
and that's been
Ooh.
entertaining because it's like it is very rooted in like kind of satirical San Francisco culture, but also just like an entertaining read too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What is one thing you're eating?
I took myself out for dinner last night, and there's a Mexican restaurant in my town that had a Taco Tuesday. And so I ate 3 tacos and a whole thing of chips and queso for like $13. It was awesome.
Oh my
In
god.
this economy, I need
Yeah,
like
go find your local Taco Tuesday because there will for sure be a restaurant doing that.
love it. Okay, what are you playing on your screen lately? This could be an audiobook, a movie, or a series.
I have been crushing through Parks and Recreation in the last few weeks. I'd seen like a couple episodes before, but like didn't really care that much. But then like in the last month and a half, I've blown through it. It's been great.
Cool.
It's kept me afloat.
Yeah. Okay, what are you obsessing over?
I was gonna say this for my "What are you watching?" option, but then I realized like, yes, I am like binging Parks and Rec at a crazy speed, but the show that I'm like really obsessed with that I have to slow down on because I have to wait for my friends and roommates to catch up is Severance. I
Mm,
cannot get enough of it. Um, and I know season 2 already finished, but as of recording this, I still haven't seen the end of season 2. But I've been listening to their like behind the scenes podcast. The director and the lead actor, like, bring on cast members and like the writer of the show and all this stuff to talk about how they put it together. And it's so clever. Like it's so well written. And it kind of reminds me of a few other things I've seen, but not really. Um, it's bizarre, but it really works. So that's been taking up a lot of my brain space lately.
that's what I've heard. I need to watch it, and you probably like everybody's sold me on it. It's just time. But yes, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is one thing you're recommending?
I think since we were just talking about like sort of like screen time and like time spent scrolling on social media and stuff, I use this app and I have to check what it's called. I think it's just called Opal. Yes, it's called Opal, and it is like a third-party screen time management app. Because I have an iPhone and it'll do that screen time thing where it's like, you want to keep scrolling for 15 minutes? And it's like, obviously I'm always going to say yes to that, so it doesn't work at all. But Opal is like a separate thing, and you can choose like which, and I'm not sponsored by this, but it has been really helpful. You can choose which apps are kind of like the biggest time sucks out of your day, and it will just block those out for you for like, you can set it up as like an 8-hour period, like during the workday, or like, past a certain time at night. You're like, I don't want to be on Instagram past 11 or whatever it is. And that's been really helpful in like breaking the habit of like, watching short form video content when I could be like talking with friends. And also like helping me realize like, oh, I don't actually need to be doing that every single day. So I recommend Opal.
Okay. And then what are you treating yourself to lately?
I went out and got a haircut yesterday to celebrate finishing my senior project. I got like 6 inches off the phone.
I love it, and I don't know if I've told Jessica, I'm planning on a big chop this summer. So you heard it here first, but like, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
I think it's Bob Girl summer.
Yes.
Yeah, my little sister who goes to school in LA, so I trust her to be on top of the latest things. Also just shop, and she hasn't gone short in so many years. So I was like, okay, it's time.
Okay, we're ahead of the training curve for once, finally in my life.
Yes.
I'm feeling the same thing. I'm doing a chop too. I'll do it whenever Maddie does hers.
Okay. Okay, wait. In conclusion, and maybe if you haven't thought, if like you don't have an answer, that's okay. Because honestly, I'm already thinking of some really cute graphics for when your episode comes out. But greatest soundtrack of all time.
Okay, I've been thinking about this.
I'm still hung up on this. I don't have an answer, so like that is, I will have an answer by the time this comes out.
Greatest of all time, because I'm sure people will contest any answer that anyone gives, and like people will stand really strong on their like Pulp Fictions and like Lizzie McGuire's and like stuff with this where it's the soundtrack. But I think the soundtrack that I will never get bored of is the soundtrack to That Thing You Do, which came out in the 90s, but was about like a band in the 60s. Me and my fictional bands. I love when there's a story about a fictional band. And they wrote a bunch of music for all of these like fake 60s acts. And some of it, they really nail the sound. And then others, it's like, this is so obviously a 90s song. Like the way it's produced, it's like, this is a 90s song trying on a 60s outfit. But they're all so catchy, and it's just it's a feel-good movie, and it's a feel-good soundtrack. So I guess that's another recommendation from me, is That Thing You Do and the accompanying soundtrack.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Okay, I think I actually do have mine. And it's not a movie. It's not a movie. And I'm only saying this is because like it's been on repeat since the first season came out. And that is The Summer I Turned Pretty. I don't know what it is, but that soundtrack of the show, it has me in a chokehold. It has me so well. And when you said that, like, I'm just like, this is somebody's job. And I'm like, I applaud them. I think I even like shared it on my stories where I'm like, this person, whoever created it, like the dopamine hit I get from, because it's like, seriously, it's like summertime. Like, and like you feel like it to me, that soundtrack is the rolling down your windows, the wind's in your hair, and you're just cruising. That's what that is. And it's so cheesy, but
it's like it works for what the show is.
Yeah.
And, like, I love that Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift was on, I forget if it was the first or second season, but like that song came out like 4 or 5 years before that show did. But like she never got to tour it because then COVID lockdown. But then the fact that like she was still able to get, I mean, obviously people were listening to Cruel Summer anyway, but like it was able to be as if it were a new release.
Yes! I just got chills.
Yeah. Yes. I had a phone call a little while ago with someone who does like music management and stuff like that, and talking about how so much of like the majority of how a musician or a band is making their money is from their back catalog. It's not their new releases. It's their stuff from like 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And like the value in continuing to promote those songs along with the new releases too. And I think The Summer I Turned Pretty does a great job with that.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's on marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's such a fun fact too. Yeah, yeah. I love that we like have that as like a good little again thing that came collectively from a planning call. Always,
Mhm.
always love the ideas. But okay, I'm gonna cheat for mine, and I hope it's okay. But my favorite playlist, I'll send it to you, Maddie, so you can if you want to link it in.
Yeah.
But okay, so it's kind of like it's I listen to a Nancy Meyers playlist, so it really comes from any Nancy Meyers movie ever
Mhm.
produced. And I just feel like you guys are gonna have to be okay with me picking that. But it's my
I'm
favorite
okay with
thing.
that. I'm okay with that. Because that's a
It
good, like,
always
cooking, like, when you're cooking, like, no, I'm so okay with that. Send it my
also,
way.
fun fact, I will like recommend the podcast episode. I listened to this a couple weeks or a couple days ago about it, but apparently Nancy Meyers does not like the Nancy Meyers aesthetic and the use of her name around music and aesthetic and all of that, which I think is very funny. But we'll link that in to the Social Club newsletter. Shameless plug to join for that. Very
Yeah.
basic. But okay, no, we're getting to the end. Maggie, anything?
Two other soundtracks that I think are
Ooh,
better,
sure.
and I just need to rapid fire them.
Okay.
La La Land and When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah,
Yes.
Those are my picks.
Yeah. Yeah.
so good. Oh, La La Land. I love that one.
Yeah.
I love that one.
I was also gonna throw out Greatest Showman, but
That's a really
Yes.
also a
Yes.
good one.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
think going back to our conversation, like all of these soundtracks, great, great films for sure, but also different vibes for different times of the week. It's like, am I feeling Greatest Showman Tuesday or am I like a Nancy Meyers Drive Friday night? You know what I mean? It's like, what am I thinking for the mood? Which is
Yeah.
so fun. But oh my gosh, this has been such a fun episode. A
So
long
fun.
time coming. So thank you, Maggie, so much for your time today and joining
me.
on #manage. Where can people find you online if you have any apps that are still on your
If you
phone?
want them
Well, I
to.
keep my social media pretty limited to friends and family, but I am on LinkedIn. It's just my name, Maggie Malin. So if there's anyone who's perhaps works for a record label or music promotion or perhaps television production and wants to connect, I'm
Yes.
totally open. Find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Shameless plug for Maggie's LinkedIn, and we'll have that in the show notes. So if you guys can connect with her, again, it's her full name, but we'll link that in. And thank you again, Maggie. This was so fun. And for everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed this episode, getting to know Maggie as much as we have loved getting to know Maggie over her internship. And we will catch you guys next week on another episode of #managed. Listen up, social media managers, freelancers, and online business bosses. If you're still out here trying to Google your way to success, it's time for an upgrade. The #Managed Collective is a free Facebook group where we ditch the fluff and get real about what actually works in social media management, community, coaching, and resources. Because your ideal clients don't just magically find you. We're a group of 20,000 plus social media managers, and it's absolutely free to join us. So what are you waiting on? Join now at #manage.com/group. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you made it this far, I think we've officially become internet besties. You can always call into the #hotline and say hello, leave a review, or ask your burning questions.
Make sure you follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever you're listening from. Subscribe to the Social Club newsletter for our weekly email and shoot us a DM over at #managed on Instagram, letting us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode.